Alright guys, this is going to be a short little video talking about how to use wireframes and Boolean cutting to aid in painting. I've talked about this in previous videos, but it's kind of gotten lost in moving over to SDS and Spline Design Studios and all that. So I wanted to make a little update video and just kind of go over that process of how I currently do it right now. So I'm working on a fictional Victory Lane object, and I'm working on painting some of the details on this object here. It's got a observation tower up here, and I'll go ahead and zoom around here. This is a party deck that will be in the back here. Probably put railings around here. Anyways, I'm going to talk about how do you use Boolean objects to make an imprint on a plane or part of your model that you want to paint. So this is a box, just a standard primitive box. Created a box excuse me, that was 7 feet tall and 6 feet wide. Normally it'd be 3 feet wide, but this is going to be a double door, so you get an idea of the scale there. And then I made it like 5 meters deep. It's just stuck through there a little bit. Set it up on top of this surface here. So yeah, I want to go through the process of how to isolate this polygon. A couple things I'll go over. So I've got the object selected. I've already got all my mapping done as far as this tutorial is concerned. So I'm going to take, so I've got the highlight selection turned off there, just at F2, so I can toggle that. I'll select that back polygon right there. What I'm going to do is detach that to an object, and now it's a separate object. I'm going to go ahead and hide the main object. So now all we have in the scene here is the cutting box and the plane that I want to cut. Now what I recommend doing is actually making a clone of that piece as a copy and hiding one of the copies. Doesn't matter which one, just hide one of the copies. That way you've got one that's going to be cut and one that isn't going to be cut. On a simple square like this, it's pretty easy to get that shape back by drag selecting the edges, or shift dragging the edges, or it's pretty easy to get a square back. But if you've got angles or anything like that, or crazy polygon shapes, you may not be able to get that back as easily. I also want to make sure I retain the mapping exactly as it was, because I've already rendered the ambient occlusion. As you can see, the shadow's pretty intense there. So next thing I'm going to do is convert that shape or that box to a poly. I'm going to select the Ngon, which is the end polygon, delete it. Select the bottom one, delete it. Select the two bottom edges, holding control. So now I've got them both selected. So select that one, hold control, select the other one. Without shift dragging, I can just go ahead and drag those down just a little bit. Make sure they're below that there. Something else I'll briefly touch on in this video is working with your selection tools here. I drag that in the Z-axis. The other way to do that would have been, let me get back here where it was. Looks like they're not even, so I would not be able to do it any other way. Also do not have snaps on during that. So if they were at the exact same height, which they're, don't know why it's not registering, but you could obviously do this right here. But that's all I want to do, is make sure that this polygon extends past the bottom edge of that polygon that we're going to cut. So I get a clean slice right there. So the next thing we're going to do with that selected there, again, that's one copy. I'm going to make sure there's only two objects in the scene. I typically, actually, sorry, I did the wrong thing there. I usually go ahead and convert back to editable poly on both of them right before doing this. It's kind of a extra step, I guess, is just to make sure that there's no modifiers that I haven't forgotten to get rid of or anything like that. It collapses all the modifiers for me to make sure. In this case, I'm going to go Boolean, and I'm going to go cut refine over here. By the way, you can drag select this over if yours looks like this, and you need to. I get tired of scrolling, so I usually set it on 2 menus off to the side, unless I'm working on a lot of detail and I need the extra visible space there. Cut refine, and pick operand B, and so that's something that may or may not happen for you there. You notice it didn't look like it cut there. That's something I've noticed a lot in watching people try to do this too, is you won't see it. Make sure you have edge faces on, because you won't see the cut unless edge faces is turned on, or you convert it back to poly and look at the edges. That's one thing that can get you into trouble there. You look at it and go, well, it didn't do anything. In fact, I'll show that again just to make sure. So I've got cut refine, pick operand B, click on it, it disappears. It looks like nothing happened. However, if I switch to edge faces, it actually did leave the imprint like it was supposed to. And again, if you didn't have edge faces on, you convert this to editable poly, you go into editable poly, rollout, here, and select, obviously it's in Boolean still, but I'll go ahead and do it. So I turn edge faces off. You wouldn't be able to see it. You convert that to editable poly, and you go into edge, and there's your new edges right there. You go into polygon. You can't see it, but it's there. So really, edge faces is the only way you can actually see it. So that's how you cut it. I'll quickly go over how to output that. Let's see. A couple different ways you could proceed there. Make sure you can see what's going on here. Now, because I have not recombined this face with the rest of the object, and I've got another object, basically I don't need this geometry. I'm not making an actual doorway that you're going to walk through or anything for a first-person shooter or something, so I don't need that geometry. I don't need that polygon. I don't need these edges, these verts, or anything like that. I just need this for mapping to know how to paint the door, basically. So I could do it this way, and I'll continue forward. I would do Tools, Render UVW Template. This one's 2048 by 1024. Render that. And let's put it out behind there. Save that as wire.png. Okay, so here's the texture. Now you can't see it, but there is a green border. So I'm going to do is I'm going to select the whole thing, copy it. I'm going to go back to the texture, edit, paste special, paste into place. And now if we zoom in, where that polygon is mapped, which is up here, that gray outline right there is how I need to paint my double doors. So that gives me the information that I needed onto the texture. I'll go ahead and rename that as wire. If you wanted to recombine that before you rendered the UVW template, if you wanted to leave this here, you could do that. Convert that back to poly. We'll rename this cut, and then unhide. Let's see, unhide all. We'll hide that one. We'll rename this one not cut. Unhide all. Hide that. So now you have the one that's cut and the main object or you can drag select, either way. I've got the sizing block in there. I was trying to figure out why there were 3 objects. Go ahead and delete that, that's fine. So there's 2 objects in the scene. You would go back to, let me save this because I don't want to do this, but we'll save that. Hammer, collapse, collapse selected, vertical poly. And now when you apply the unwrap modifier, that cut piece is there as part of the model. So that's how you would recombine that. At this point, you know, you could do the same thing. Tools, render the template, 2048, render the template, do the same thing, save it as a wire.png, import it onto your texture, and it would have all the green outlines that you see, not just this piece here, if you wanted all of it together. I believe that is all I'm going to cover in this video. So thanks for watching.